That was really good.
I appreciate you.
That was really good.
How much do you think his legs are going to be utilized? I'm sure it's going to be a lot more than draft. Obviously, he's put a lot more weight on. As a quarterback's coach, is there any different type of approach in just kind of how you facilitate the quarterback's with that in mind?
I think at the end of the day, it's our job, our offensive staff as a whole, just to be able to put our players in the best position to be successful. And if that means that we got to run them, if that means that we got to pull back on it, whatever that is, if that means we have to hand off the ball 50 times a game, we're going to hand off the ball 50 times a game. If that means that we got to throw it 50 times a game, we're going to throw it 50 times a game. So I really think it comes down to the who our people are, and the who we're going against, and just how it fits best that week. Ultimately, we just got to put our players in position to be successful.
Coach, what are kind of the keys to working him into the position? I mean, I'm sure Brock will probably look at it as bringing in somebody to take my job. How do you kind of handle that dynamic?
I think naturally, just program wide for us, it's built off of competition and toughness, but at the same time, togetherness. We talk a lot in the quarterback room just about, I mentioned leadership earlier, and everybody being a leader in their own way, their own capacity. That goes with the relationships that you make in the room as well. DJ's going to learn from Brock, Brock's going to learn from DJ. All those guys have something that they can pick from each other. So, I mean, I think the more that we can be our own little team in the quarterback room, the more that helps.
Coach Travell talked about DJ kind of coming in and earning the respect of the team. I know the last few months are not the time you're around the team the most relative to some other times, but how have you seen that from what you've seen of him, just how he does that naturally?
Sure. Just, I mean, one thing is his approach. He obviously has a veteran mindset of, I mean, he's been around it. Being thrown into tour duty is something he's done before in some sense, but not like us. But I mean, so I think it's good for teammates to see guys not necessarily struggle, but guys have to push through and go through the same type of things that they've been through or they have to go through. And then again, I bring up experience. I mean, he's played a lot of football. He knows a lot of football. There's a lot of conversation, a lot of dialogue that can be had back and forth between him and other players of how he sees something. Just whatever we can do to be in the best position to succeed.
How did Brock handle the aftermath of the work?
Excuse me?
How did Brock handle kind of the aftermath of the work?
I think he was eager to get back to work. Very early on, him and I met and went through the game, and he just wants to learn. He wants to be better. He's done a great job just in his approach of what we talk about all the time in this program, and that's how can I be better today than I was yesterday. The 1% better mentality, those incremental gains, and I mean, he's done a really good job of that.
Luke, he was kind of the leader of the recruiting class, on social media.
Yep.
Has he carried that over now that he's officially on campus? Just what's your early?
Absolutely. I mean, Luke's got some charisma to him. I mean, like I said, he's built a little bit different for a quarterback. So, I mean, guys gravitate to that. The guys in his class, I think, definitely look at him. Cam Davis is another one that I think that is definitely carried over as we've gotten onto campus.
What you offering Luke when you did before we started a game at quarterback? Obviously, you kind of got in early on him, seeing the vision. I guess what was it like seeing him go from, whoa, this is what we think he could become, to kind of what he has become?
Sure. It was fun. It's definitely rewarding because it's kind of it's gratifying to know that you're on it. I think it comes back down to just the type of kid that he was. Like pretty early on, the skill set piece of it's the easy part of the evaluation. But the more that we get to know the kid, his family comes from a phenomenal family, and he's about the right things. And those are the type of people we want in our program.
How did he handle going through the first tour? It seemed like we were out there the last day. It seemed like he moved pretty well for his size.
No, I mean he did really well. Just like any other young guy, they always have their young guy moments, and at times it can be like drinking water through a fire hose. But he's done a great job. Really proud of Luke, and he's stacked up some good days, especially this back half of the offseason.
For Luke to come in and to have guys like DJ and then obviously Brock for what he went through last year.
Yep.
For him to learn behind those guys, especially as a freshman, and the talent you've already talked about, how important is that for him?
I just think, I mean, not just Luke, but any guy in the room, if you can continue to pull pieces from other players and your teammates and build on your game, I think it adds value. And, I mean, I'm lucky enough to have a group that I think that genuinely cares about each other and wants each other to be successful. So I definitely think not just Luke, but other guys in the room, just the collaboration of the group as a whole is something that I'm excited to work with and I'm very lucky to work with.
I felt like I needed a hard hat coming in from the parking lot for the construction here and then the football center.
Yep.
Well, what are those, when those projects are complete, how's that going to help you do your job?
I think at the end of the day, it's about how we can provide the resources for the players. So it's not just me; it's for them. I mean, yes, we'll have nice buildings, we'll have great facilities, all that stuff. But how we utilize it and the people that are in the building is the more important part. Whether that's the players or the coaches or the support staff, we're all we're cut from the same cloth. And if you weren't, then you wouldn't be here. So.
Is there anything in particular about the operations center that you think is really going to help?
One thing I'm really excited for, the use of virtual reality. So we utilize that a good bit with the quarterbacks right now. You see them wear the quarterback cameras, but I think the new facility will have an upgraded room. We will utilize that, and I think it's invaluable. You can provide game-like reps without having to put that toll on their bodies.
Yeah, how valuable have you seen VR?
That's awesome. I mean, I use it multiple times throughout a game week, going through check looks, protections, things like that, and I think it's a little bit more of the realistic look as opposed to looking at a coach's wide shot or a tight shot on a coach's copy.
From a coaching standpoint, there's going to be change of wide receiver this year. You got guys like Keon and Johnny last year. Obviously, it's going to be a new look group from a coaching standpoint with working with a new quarterback. How do you kind of go through that during spring and summer to kind of prep for a new look at the offense in the fall?
I think it's about intensity of the reps. How can we simulate game-like intensity on a consistent basis throughout a practice? Not everyone's going to be perfect, but I said it earlier, I mean, once you get out there for game day, things crank up a little bit more. And so if we can constantly push our guys to have that game-like intensity, I don't care if you're a quarterback or a wide receiver, running back, tight end, offensive line, whatever that is, if you can have game-like intensity and do it over and over and over through practice, that transition is much easier on the field.
I know DJ, when we talked to him, he talked about kind of like from when he entered the portal, this was always where he wanted to be. This was kind of he zeroed in pretty quick. Obviously, it takes two to tango. You're not going to take a kid just because he really wants to be here. But how much of a difference does that make when a guy's pretty candid about like this is where I want to be, and they're pretty all in?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It helps to have somebody that wants to be there. They want to be a part of what we're doing. There's plenty of other places throughout the country where kids could go, and it's a much easier experience. Our guys are going to have fun still. Our guys are going to compete. We're going to win games. But at the end of the day, we're gonna push our guys to be the best version of themselves, and that's everything. And so for DJ to be all in on that, I think it speaks a lot about his character.
So why were you guys all in on him?
I think just knowing the value he could bring into the room from an experience standpoint, and then the other piece of it is there's stuff that he's done throughout his college career, where if you look back, go back to Memphis tape. Go back to Memphis film. There's things that translate, whether it's run game, nakeds, play actions, boots, all that stuff, and then obviously some of the quarterback run. So I think from a schematic standpoint, it's a fit. And one of the things that Coach Ravel is better at any coach in the country is not pigeonholing himself and, hey, this is my system, this is what we do, and we only do it this way. We're always going to evolve. You guys have seen even just 4 years here how our system, how our offense has changed and tweaked based off of the players that we have.
I know. So DJ is a college football player at this point. This is his third school. Just you haven't put on pads yet, but just talking to him. How much do you think you have to kind of reteach him or reinforce or change anything just compared to the different coaches that he's had?
Right. Well, part of my job is to learn and figure out what he knows and what he's comfortable with. But at the same point, I cannot take anything for granted. Yes, he's played a lot of football, but I'm sure there's things that that we do here, that he's done at other places, that we're taught different, or there might just be some little nuance that's slightly different. And so, I mean, my job is to really leave no stone unturned and be thorough and break it all down and start with the foundation, build them back up again, and build them back up with how we do it and what our expectation, what our standard is.
Y'all brought in McKenzie a few years ago, but obviously for all the portal success, it hasn't been a lot of quarterbacks. You had Jordan for so long, which helps. How much can that be a selling point, even if it hasn't largely been your position, kind of the success y'all have had in the portal elsewhere of saying, see what we did with these other guys, we can do that with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes back down to something I said earlier again. I mean, it's maximizing the players that we have and their skill set within the scheme. That is our job ultimately. And I mean, like I said, DJ is a guy that has physical traits and character traits that marry up with our philosophy here at Florida State. So I think it's a good fit.